I'm a SWAT officer who was sent to investigate a rural Alaskan town. Part 3. Let's get straight into that. A late October sunrise fell on the police station. The orange-red hue that cascaded its brick walls gave a warm look to it. The inside of the serene police station was quiet. About 3 people sat with different police officers, discussing problems they had that required a higher power. A young rookie that had joined the force a week earlier sat with his FTO, and both of them were questioning an old disheveled man. And the man grew increasingly distraught, and the FTO started to grow annoyed with the conversation. The rookie stared out of the giant window that sat in front of the police station. The rookie had achieved his childhood dream of being a cop. And sure, it had only been a week, but he still had high hopes for what he could do. He thought of how he could now help the people who needed it, maybe even get an award or 2 for heroism. But that would be the last time the rookie would get to have such an idealistic thoughts, because through that window he saw a grotesque creature slink to the door. The woman at the receptionist let out a loud, "What the hell?" as it made its way to the door, and the surrounding officers all swiveled their heads to the lady and looked where her now shocked face was staring. That's when the room of both veterans and rookies exploded in a commotion as people scrambled out of their seats and went to get a closer look, hands hovering over their service pistols. And the rookie and the FTO went to corral the civilians further into the police station, where they thought it would be safest for them. The reason for all of this rash decision-making and paranoia was due to the thick tension in the air, akin to having a random person walking up to you and shoving a gun in your face. As the rookie and the FTO walked back to the others, they heard shots ring out, and this caused them to break out into a dead sprint as they rushed to the others. And by the time the two made it, half the officers lay mangled. The walls had a fine red sheen to it. The other half were frantically yelling and shooting. The beast shrugged the bullets off and pounced on 3 officers at once. One swift flick of its pitch-dark paw caused a fountain of blood to spray onto the nearby plant. The others looked in horror at this monster, butchering their friends. Tears clouded their vision as the creature picked them all off. The rookie and the FTO tried to get them to snap out of it, but it was a futile attempt. Their blood froze as the wolf set its crimson pits on them. Now the beast first took out the FTO, ripping his chest in 2. Then it went on to the rookie, who put up a surprising struggle as he kicked and punched the snout of the creature. Now this unsurprisingly annoyed it, and with one fell swoop, he slammed the rookie's head into the ground, causing the rookie's blood to deepen the red of his auburn hair. I opened my eyes to a blinding light. My eyes shifted to the beaming source and surveyed my surroundings. The room was bare, only having a side table and an IV which was hooked into my arm, along with some sort of computer. I attempted to get up, but my sore body protested, so I didn't bother continuing my attempts. I let out a sigh as I looked for a possible button to call a nurse, which wasn't around. With nothing much left to do, I close my eyes as another weight of tiredness overtakes me. I wake up again to the empty room. I try to look for a window for any semblance of time, but I notice there aren't any windows, and the door is a plain grey door with no window on it. The silence is soothing, making the hell I've lived through seem like a distant memory. Actually, this gives me time to recount the events that have taken place, all of the reality-bending crap that took place. Why did I choose to go into that forest when I was told not to? I mean, sure, I was concerned about that lady, but what did that do for me? Never even found her. Instead, I got a shitstorm of blood and pain, not to mention the fact that I have no clue what is going on, or, to be more accurate, why this is happening. I'm confused about my exact location or time. Did I die in that forest, or did I just crack and everything that is happening is some sort of psychotic breakdown? Is anything I do here real, or is it some sort of illusion? I feel no fatigue and my muscles only ache, even though I am sure my arm was bitten off and rebitten during the second attack. But as I look at it, nothing seems to be wrong with it. The only indication it was ever hurt is a scar that is the shape of that thing's maw. I need more evidence, more facts before I form an opinion, and then I'll go from there. As I finish my debating on what's happening, I hear the door open and see the woman from when I got transported into that officer area. Her hair seems to be far straighter, as if it was brushed, and reaches down to her waist, while some lay on her shoulder, and her clear blue eyes seem to shine from the room lighting. As she pulled a chair from the corner that I didn't previously check and sat right next to my bed. She didn't seem angry, which was quite surprising, as I literally was her enemy the last time we met. Well, I guess I was also in an alley before blacking out. She let out a sigh and closed her eyes as if searching for the right words. I, on the other hand, shifted uncomfortably at the strange situation. She began. Before you say a word, I'm going to tell you how this conversation is going to go. First, I'll ask a question, and you'll answer. You will not ask questions until I have finished with mine. You will only answer the questions and will avoid talking before I'm done. Lastly, you shan't ask me if I feel like killing you, as I believe we are past that. As she said this in a stern but soft voice, which caught me off guard. Also, who uses the word shan't? I nodded my head in argument, as I wasn't in a position to challenge her, and her voice was so nice to listen to, so it wasn't a big problem, though I was curious as to what question she could have about me. I first want to know how you found our location, she said flatly. A shaky man walked up to me. He said a few words and then a blinding light shot from his hand, and by the time I could see, I was at that office, I said. And she looked at me and then said, And what is your purpose for being here? Well, I was sent here to investigate the town. Or I guess I should say my original purpose was to investigate a rural Alaskan town. I muttered, not having much of a choice. And she eyed me with a great suspicion and asked, Then how did you end up in a Texas city? Now, this hit me like a ton of bricks. I had my suspicion that I was in a different place due to the fact of it being hot and humid and with no snow in sight. But her confirming it made it seem unreal. How the hell did I end up in Texas? The mere thought was hard to process and brought an endless stream of questions. When that wolf monster attacked me, did I somehow survive and get transported back? That wouldn't even make sense. None of it made sense. I wanted to ask her, but I remembered her words and held my tongue. And she eyed me for a minute before continuing. Well, you seem shocked and confused, but I must continue with my questions. So, if you were sent to investigate, does that mean that you are a detective? No, I'm SWAT. A police commissioner sent me to investigate something in that town. I stuttered out. Something seemed off with that. She now seemed annoyed and spat out, I want the truth. Stop telling such obvious lies and tell me what you are. I recoiled slightly and spat her out. That is the truth. I'm a SWAT officer and I was supposed to investigate. I couldn't remember what the point of going to that town was. It was like a haze clouded my mind. Something was on the edge of my mind, but I couldn't remember what it was, no matter how hard I tried to grasp it. SWAT doesn't investigate, and why would a police commissioner send a cop to Alaska? Maybe you should have picked a better lie of being an FBI agent, or at least came up with a better story. She laughed the last bit of the sentence out. She was right. None of what I was saying was making any sense. I tried to think back to the academy and the time that I was on the force, but nothing came. I tried to remember my family and friends. However, all I got was the feeling that it was just out of my reach. I started to feel sick to my stomach. What am I doing here then? How did I end up in this situation if I don't even remember who I am or what I am? All I knew was my name, Hayden. Yes, I'm Hayden. That's who I am. I have an anchor and a lead as to who I am. I inhaled and exhaled to recollect myself and calm down. Remember the 5, 10, breathing. Well, the woman studied me and nodded a little. It seems you are telling the truth, but I guess I'll have to find the answers elsewhere. I have one more question before it's your turn. How did you manage to kill that hound? I don't know. I just did what my instincts told me. Standing there wasn't going to help, and if I did nothing, well, that would mean certain death. And so I just fought. I said, in a shaky voice. She again merely nodded. I wouldn't say I'm satisfied due to the new questions I have, but now it's your turn to ask me the questions that you have. Questions that I have? Where would I even start with a list like that? I finally had a chance to get some answers, and I was going to take it. What are those monsters? I said without even thinking about it. Those damn monsters have been making my life hell and put me through so much pain. I at least want to know what they are. I don't know. Honestly, they just showed up one day and have been a pain to deal with ever since. Before you ask, they have no known weakness. And honestly, it's impressive that you managed to kill one. She spoke with a flat tone. Obviously. It's a subject she doesn't enjoy talking about. So, they just appeared? I said. I'm not sure if they appeared or if they have been around the entire time. I do have a theory, two to be exact. The first is that something makes them like some kind of brood mother. Now that's the obvious theory among my people, but there is another one, and that these beings are created by some sort of distorted will, like greed or wrath. I can't be sure, but I'm sure they're lethality, she said. Well, that made goosebumps rise on my arm. On the bright side, at least I'm not the only one in the dark about what these things are. But that still leaves the question as to how to deal with those creatures in an efficient manner, as they have no weakness, and we don't know the origin. What's that weird light that shoots from your hands? Well, this is another mystery I want to check off my list while I had the chance. Oh, that... And before she could finish, she was cut off by a man opening the door to my room. And this isn't any man, as it's the same shaky man in the red suit with a huge sword and glasses that conceal his eyes. The hilt of the sword clips the doorframe as he has to make an awkward twist to fully get into the room. His glasses slide a bit due to the movement, causing him to push them back up as he turns back towards me and the girl. Sorry to interrupt you, Ren, but I have some bad news for both of you, he says sheepishly. The woman I know as Ren scoffs at this and says, What is it this time, you damn messenger? The last bit had a fusion of annoyance and anger. Okay. I guessed and you have to go into the field, the man says while putting his hands up defensively. Wait, field? I don't even know who you are, so why would I help you? I say with a mixture of confusion. I'm sorry, but I don't feel like explaining, so I just sent you both on your way, he says with a newfound confidence. Rin quickly tries to stammer out something, but it's too late as the same blinding light appears. And as my eyes readjust to my surroundings, I can see that I have been transported into a room full of mannequins that occupy most of the giant building I was in. I looked to my right and found Ren looking around with what seemed to be on high alert stitched onto her face. The lights in the building flickered with age and gave only a dim glow, lining most of the place in shadows. The building gave me the same adrenaline rush as the monsters that I've been forced to fight, making me take a deep gulp as I thought about what lurked in those shadows. And Rin's sudden grip on my shoulder made my heart slam into the back of my throat as I swung around to face her again. The light tan on her skin seemed to grow darker from the lack of light, and her blue eyes almost seemed to glow in the darkness, though I had apparently been staring for some time as she started to give me a death stare, and so I decided to focus on finding a way out. I find little success in my efforts as the far reaches of the building is shrouded in pitch-dark darkness, or covered in a pile of mannequins. Now that I take a longer look, the mannequins seem to be quite old, well past the point of deterioration, as most have missing chunks or missing limbs. There were a few peculiar ones, seemed to be missing eye indentation, which I found odd, but I didn't give it much thought. I'm more glad that I don't have a phobia of mannequins like someone else might have, and be shitting bricks. Well, it seems that an exit is nowhere to be found. That damn messenger sure does push my buttons. Rin's voice shakes me out of my thoughts. So, this wasn't planned? Also, why did I get dragged along? My body still hurts from the last ordeal, I massage a sore spot that seemed to pop out of nowhere as I say this. I have no clue why you keep getting dragged along, when it sure as hell wasn't planned. He does whatever he's told to do by his master, even though he is one of the highest authorities in the agency. Her right hand does a weird hand motion as she finishes her sentence. The sound resonates from the far corner. Plastic hitting concrete is what it resembles. My instincts scream to run, but my feet stay planted in some kind of false confidence. My blood is pumping, but it's more manageable than the fear I battled in the last few bouts of combat. Rin closes the distance between us, gluing herself next to my shoulder and stacking on me in the same way police officers would do when breaching a room. All right, we should start moving to a wall so we can more easily find an exit, she says in a surprisingly calm voice. I simply nod, and we both start to shuffle our way past groups of mannequins, some with eye indentations and others without. The growing tension leaves both of us silent as we stiffly look at the large shadows that litter the building. Any moments we are ready for one of those monsters to pop out and kill us. The silence is once again broken when we hear a snapping sound on our right, but the sound seems to come from a good distance away, and so we proceed on to find the nearest wall. However, this time our footsteps seem to make a cacophony of noise. Each step is some sort of blowhorn that bounces off the very walls. My blood runs cold as I hear a snapping sound come from my left. This time, it sounded like it was a few feet away. Rin and I both exchange glances that give a mutual understanding to be on guard as we proceed further into the wasteland of decaying mannequins. And suddenly, I see something dart right from the corner of my eye. I tense and instinctively reach for my gun. To my surprise, my hand makes contact with a metal object, causing me to look down and see that I'm wearing my combat gear. I hadn't noticed as I was used to the weight of it, and since I lacked my headgear, I had just assumed that I was still in the same clothes from that room. Wait, what was I wearing in that room? Rin must have noticed my expression, as she said, "Yes, that man also equipped you with your gear during the light." I wanted to ask what the hell that ability was, but I saw another bit of movement. This time, it was much closer. I unholstered the Glock and made sure it was on semi and not automatic. I also quickly checked the mag to make sure ammo was in it, and sure enough, there was. I looked up in time to see a faceless mannequin charging at me in long strides. I choked at the sight and raised my pistol at it. It felt good to have a gun in my hands again, and it was equally as good to squeeze the trigger and hear the bark of the pistol. My aim was true as I saw the head of the mannequin yank back as it ragdolled to the floor. But that was just the beginning. Thousands of these damn things came to life, limbs yanking and twisting and trying to make the body move. The twisted and decayed mannequins started to walk our way. "Shit!" I yelled as I swung my head to Rin. "Run forward, you damned idiot!" Rin screamed, causing me to break into a sprint. Thankfully, the path we were walking on was still clear for the time being, but we had a long run, meaning that mannequins could start blocking our path, and if that happened, well, we were screwed. At least Rin was able to keep up with my paces. She was still glued to my side. The horde of mannequins seemed to have gotten used to their limbs as they started to wobble their way towards us. A few of the nearest ones reached out for us, and one of them managed to get in front of us, and so I aimed and shot its featureless face. Rin and I leapt over the body and continued our mad dash to hopefully our salvation and not our demise. More and more started to gain speed and hurtle their way over to us. By now, we could see some sort of wall, and I thought I could see the outline of some sort of door, which gave me a newfound boost of energy. I shot more mannequins that got in front of us, counting the number of bullets I had remaining, which sadly came out as 10. Rin shot the same light out of her hands to take care of the ones that were now within arm's reach in distance. Then, in a mere moment, I heard Rin shriek. I looked back to see that she had been grabbed by one of the mannequins, but one soon turned to 3, and if I didn't act, she would be consumed by the horde of them. I had a decision to make. Either I continued to run and make it to the door I could now see, or fought off the mannequins holding back Rin. Then again, why would I rescue her? She had been more of a liability than an asset. Sure, she helped me, but I still did most of the work. Why should I risk my life to help a stranger who probably wouldn't do the same for me? Fuck it. I swore as I came to my realization. The realization is no matter how much I thought of my continued survival, I couldn't leave her to die like that. The simple fact is that it's against my nature to do something so cruel. I shot the two heads that I could see and ran up to her, and by now another three had grabbed her. I slammed the muzzle of the pistol into the faceless head of one, and shot, and then swung the gun to the one that held Rin's legs, and did the same. I hated getting so close, but I couldn't risk accidentally shooting Rin, so this was our only option. At least I didn't have to worry about missing my shots. By now only two held Rin in place, though I could hear Rin's choked breathing as one attempted to strangle her, while the other wrapped itself around her arms and torso. I twisted around Rin and blasted the one strangling her, and started to yank the one wrapped around her off enough to be able to shoot it without it moving. And I managed to yank its head off of her and lined up a shot, but as soon as I squeezed the trigger, the thing jolted its head to Rin's body, making my shot miss by a large amount of space. I once again wrestled the thing to get it off of her, and she managed to land an elbow into its face, sending it reeling from the hit. I grabbed its featureless face and shoot it point blank. And by now the horde of mannequins has caught up with us, and I have to stomp on arms to avoid getting grabbed. I push Rin forward and follow behind her as she sprints towards the door. However, as I am running, one of the damn creatures caught my leg and I faceplant onto the ground. I can feel the blood pour from my nose as I try to kick the mannequin off. The kicking seemed to have no effect on this one, so I pointed and shot the thing. I stumbled back into a standing position, just in time for another one to grab onto my left arm, and so I once again smashed the muzzle of the pistol into its head and shot it in the center of its head. Rin is now a good bit ahead of me, and I twist and weave my way through the ever-growing walls of arms on my sides until two decayed mannequins pop up in front of me. I aim at the one left and blast a hole through it, and then I point and shoot the right one until I hear a click instead of the usual bark. I used up all of my ammo saving Rin, and so I do the only thing I can think of in that situation. I flip the gun and get ready to bash its head in. This might work, or it might not. No time to dwell on the possibilities. I can't afford to hesitate. And so I slam the butt of the gun to the side of its head, sending it careening into a nearby group of them. I let out a sigh of relief. That is until I see a group of them standing in my way. It's like the universe was telling me to fuck off and die. Well, if I'm gonna die, I better go down fighting. My muscles tense, I grit my teeth and prepare to fight like hell. That is until I see a red vortex slam into the center one, causing it to fly towards me. I brush that one to the side as the farthest right goes down next, and then the farthest left one's head explodes in confetti of material. I slam the gun into the right one and push the left one out of my way. "Get the hell over here!" I hear Rin yell as she covers me from the now open door. My feet slam into the ground as I haul ass to Rin and the door, fighting off the odd mannequin who manages to crawl its way towards me. I almost ran over Rin as I barrel through the doorway into what seemed to be a lobby area. She slams the door behind me and I grab a nearby chair to block it, hoping for some sort of miracle that the chair could hold off thousands of mannequins. Rin and I look around the room frantically and both see another door and run towards that one next. As we reach the second door, the first one shatters forth as mannequins start to pool into the lobby area. I yank the door open and come face to face with the outside world. I stumble out of the door and I jump down a small set of stairs. Rin slammed the door shut and mirrored my movement. And this time we ran through the tight alleyways, hoping to lose the horde if they followed. After what felt like an eternity, we finally felt that we had made a good way away from the accursed building, both of us panting heavily from the ordeal that had just transpired. I lean on a nearby wall to better catch my breath and take some of the weight off of my legs. Rin goes to my left and sits atop of a dumpster. I need water, but I guess I'll have to survive without it for the time being." And our silence befalls both of us as we both weren't sure of what to say. We both had saved each other in some kind of way, making me feel good that I had guessed the type of person she was. That still didn't stop her from saying, "Hey, I just wanted to say thank you for saving me, even if what you did was idiotic." Jeez, you really had to add the idiotic part? I chuckled out. I hear a set of footsteps start to close in on my right, causing both Rid and I to jolt up from our resting position. I instantly realize that I never switched the mag to my gun, so I slam the mag release, untrack the spent bullet, and shoot to see if I have a spare mag in one of my pockets. Thankfully, my hands find a full mag in my pocket. I swing the mag out of the pocket, I found it, and slam it into the Glock, racking the slide as I ready the pistol at a firing stance. A man swaggers from around the corner. Luckily for him, I know to keep my index finger extended. However, we both still stay tense as the man in front of us is giving off a strange feeling. Almost a disarming feeling. A feeling that makes you feel safe and warm, and that you can trust this man. He's in his early 30s and with deep red hair, a stubble mustache, and with a set of perfect white teeth that seem to radiate from the light. His almond brown eyes seem to look at you with a sense of familiarity and welcome you with open arms. However, his long fingernails gave a sense of unease to me. His sharp face also seemed to be almost mask-like. Every feature he had seemed a little too perfect to be human. The appearance of him seemed to make me tense up harder, and I found my finger slowly inching its way closer to the trigger, as if this was an enemy that needed to be put down. I also got the strange feeling that I had seen this man from somewhere, but I couldn't place where. The man looked at me first, sizing me up before turning his attention to Rin. When he saw Rin, he licked his lips and said, "I'ma enjoy playing with you." He smiles as he continues to stare, and that's when I felt the bloodlust start to seep from him. This was going to be a very bad time. "You aren't supposed to be here, boy." He said this to me after he was done ice stripping Rin. "I'm certain I had my dear Darlene. What are you?" After a moment, his face had a bored-like expression on it, causing him to say, "Ah, never mind. I would just doze off while you explain what you are. I will say this will be fun." He chuckled and had a glint in his soulless eyes when he said, "Well, it'll be fun for me, at least. For both of you, it will be pure hell." His chuckle started to distort as his body started to morph. His bones started to creak and crack as his arms started to extend, his back arching forward as if weight was planted on his neck. I saw his nail beds pop out and long yellow talons started to protrude from his now mangled hands, the palms of which were planted onto the concrete of the alleyway. His legs twisted as his legs seemed to grow hair and morph into a pair of mounting goat legs. His torso was also going through a similar transformation. His ribs now protruded from his once sleek, white button-down shirt, exposing his now almost hollow chest that had a now grey hue. The once perfect face was now befitted for his true self. Instead of immaculate white teeth, they had become yellowed and with black spots of decay, twisted and uneven. Most of his face was now missing patches of skin and showing either greyed muscle or yellowed skull. Antlers started to grow from the top of his head, jagged and ancient, patches of skull and skin hanging from them. Almond brown eyes turned to pitch dark black. The man that stood before me was no man at all, but a monster who wore the skin of one. The thing smiled with its decayed mouth and let out a deep and low chuckle. I shot 2 or 3 times once I managed to get out of my stupor, and Rin followed in quick succession with a volley of her magic bullets. The creature doesn't even flinch, nor does it flinch when I let out another 4 bullets. This goddamn monster shrugged off our attacks like raindrops, letting out another low chuckle at our futile attempts. The creature does a weird squat position as it angles its head towards me, and by the time I realize what it's doing, it was too late. "Oh shit! is all I can manage before I feel the thing headbutt me, antlers slicing into my sides as I am sent hurtling backwards. Wow, 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 wow. Another one, wow. What a chest-pounding, exhilarating story this was, from the incredible mind of Officer Gallows over on Reddit No Sleep. Truly can't wait for the update of this series. Officer absolutely nailed each and every part of it, and of course a huge thank you for allowing me to narrate it on the channel. Well, guys and girls as ever, you know the drill. Please do let me know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help with the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid Crew. If you're an aspiring writer or would just like to have a crack at things like myself, then please do get in touch with me at the brand new contact email, which is, as on screen, contactthedeadone@gmail.com. I really look forward to hearing from you. I hope everybody's well and happy this week. Had a fantastic week at school or possibly work. Whatever it is that you do, I hope you're enjoying it and you're getting stuck in. But above all, guys, as ever, remember, be safe, not sorry.